Hi everyone, here is a video about how to name ionic compounds with polyatomic ions. So first of all, you need to know that these are not binary, so they will have more than 2 capital letters, they have more than 2 elements, and there will actually be something from the backside of the periodic table in that compound, okay? So one of the easiest things to look at is NaOH. Okay, you should notice that there are 3 capital letters, so that should clue you in that one of these things is a polyatomic ion from the backside of the periodic table. Now, if we look carefully to find OH, OH is hydroxide. So when we go to name these things, you know how with the binary compounds we change the ending to "ide" for the second element? We don't have to do that anymore. We look at whatever the metal is, which is the first thing, so that's sodium. Na is sodium. And then we said that, let's see, where is it here? That the OH is hydroxide. So when we go to name this thing, we just say sodium hydroxide. Okay. Here's another one, CaCO3. Okay, again, 3 capital letters, so we know that we have a polyatomic ion. So we look here at this sheet. If we look carefully, we can see that carbonate, C is CO3. We know that calcium is Ca. So we write our name out as calcium carbonate. Okay. What if we had something like Ca3PO4 2? Okay, so on the next video or the next day, I would share with you how we get these numbers. It has to do with that cross them over and bring them down thing that we did with binary compounds. Okay, so it's just charges that we use to make our compound neutral. But anyway, when we go to name this thing, again, notice that there are 3 capital letters, so we have a polyatomic ion. So we look over here and we look for the PO4, which is up here. So PO4 is phosphate. So kind of like we did with the binary ionic compounds, we don't say anything about this 3 or this 2 because they're there just to help us balance out the charges. So we just name it calcium, and then PO4 was phosphate. So calcium phosphate. Okay. Now the only kind of weird ones is if you get a transition metal. And when we have the transition metals, remember those are the ones that are kind of in the center here. With transition metals, you still need to put a Roman numeral in the middle that tells us what the charge is. So let's say that this was Fe3PO4 parentheses 2. Okay. 3 capital letters, we have a polyatomic ion. Here it is, PO4. We know that Fe is iron, so I'm going to go ahead and write iron. And then we know, I'm going to leave a little bit of space here, we know that the PO4 is phosphate. Okay, now how do we know what the Roman numeral is? Well, just like we learned with the binary ones, this 2, and I'm going to do it maybe in pen, this 2 originally belonged to the Fe. So that means that Fe is a +2 ion. So when we go to write the parentheses and the Roman numeral in the middle, that 2 was crossed over and brought down behind the PO4. So we say Roman numeral 2. Okay. Now you might be wondering, okay, why are there parentheses? Well, when we, and this is something more that I'm going to teach you when I talk to you about how to do these formulas, but just so you're kind of aware today, when we look at, say we have, let's go back and use the calcium and the phosphate. When we have calcium and phosphate, you would look at the periodic table and you'd see that calcium's in the second column, so it's a +2. And then you'd look at the back and you'd see that phosphate is a, there it is, -3. Okay, since those charges don't cancel each other out, we cross them over and drop them down, just like we did with the binary ones. Now we wouldn't want to write it like this, Ca3, and then PO4, which is phosphate with a 2 behind it, because then it looks like we need 42 oxygens. So if we have to bring a charge down behind a polyatomic ion that already has a subscript there, or a number there, we need to put the number in parentheses. So that the 4 is on the inside of the parentheses, and then the number that we brought down, that we crossed over and brought down, goes behind the parentheses. All right. So, kind of give you again like a bird's eye view here of some of the different names, right? If you have any questions, you can email me if I am gone, or obviously if I'm in the classroom, you're probably not watching the video. But send me an email if you get stuck, and if I'm gone, I should hopefully be back the next day, and so then you can ask me questions then too. All right, thanks guys.